Svengali is the fourth episode of the Tortellis. This is directed by Shea, and I rather enjoyed this one. I thought it was a pretty good narrative, so there will be spoilers as I talk about what happens. There's not a tremendous amount to discuss, as, to be fair, not a great deal happens, but I did still really enjoy it. And I also want to say, before I get in with the narrative, that I really liked Mark. Mark is Charlotte's son. And up until this point, I don't think the character added a lot to the... I know we're only 4 episodes in, but I don't think the character added a lot to the episodes. But in this one, he had some really great dialogue, particularly with Nick. And I thought he was rather sweet, so I quite liked the character in this one. And I'm looking forward to, hopefully, getting more out of the character and getting some comedy out of him as we did in this episode. The main episode focuses on Loretta and the fact that she really wants to launch her career more, and Nick is apparently being her manager, but he's just not getting her any gigs. So she decides, fine, I will go and get a new manager, and she does that. And quite quickly she gets a manager, and she gets a gig. And Nick finds this out when watching television, because they're watching the fighting, and she is a ring girl. And I'm really glad that Mark asked what a ring girl was, because I had absolutely no idea. So Mark asked, and we got a very brief description, but it helped me to kind of visualise what was going on, because we didn't get to see it on screen. And then she gets another gig pointing at appliances, and Nick's not happy. Nick doesn't want her working with another manager, so he decides to prove his worth as a manager and kind of pretends to have another client and another gig opportunity. And understandably, Loretta really wants that gig opportunity. So, well, as I said, spoilers, I can explain what happens. She decides to allow Nick to be her manager again. And Nick, to his credit, does get her the gig. I was genuinely unsure about whether he was scheming something or whether there was going to be a kind of downfall with this afterwards, if Loretta would do the gig and then it would really backfire, but actually it didn't. They went to this club, she did a performance, it was really, really well done, and then we find out how Nick managed to get this gig. And this is because he made a promise that if Loretta could sing, he would then appear in the next act. And the next act is a knife thrower. And I have to say, it was pretty brilliant. Nick looked terrified, but fabulous on the spinning wheel with the balloons around him. I thought it was a very funny way to end things. And I have to say, Nick was actually quite admirable here. Not the whole lying about having another client and things and making Loretta jealous, but actually going above and beyond at his expense, at the potential expense of his life, to get Loretta this opportunity. Did he do it for Loretta, or did he do it because he didn't like her working with another manager? I'd say probably a bit of both, but either way, at the end of the day, Loretta got what she wanted and probably what she deserved as well. So I feel like that worked out ultimately. And I rather enjoyed it. I thought it was a good episode, quite unpredictable, definitely very fun. I don't know if it would be one of my favourites, maybe my favourite so far, apart from the previous episode, which is definitely almost 100% guaranteed always going to be my favourite because it featured Cliff and Norm. But aside from that episode, Svengali could be a contender. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was definitely a pretty decent episode of the Tortellis. And I'm looking forward to the next one.